I walked into my house early, expecting quiet, but I heard my sister laughing behind a closed door. Then I heard my husband say, "You started this." My chest tightened. I pushed the door open and everything shifted. Because the truth was, they were on the bed. Too close. No confusion left. Michael stood up fast. "Elizabeth." "Don't," I said. "Just don't." Linda didn't move. She looked at me like I had interrupted something minor. "What are you doing home?" That question hit harder than anything else. "What am I doing home?" I repeated. "What are you doing?" Silence. Not panic. Not guilt. Just silence. "How long?" I asked. Michael didn't answer. Linda shrugged. "It wasn't planned." That wasn't an answer. I looked between them. "Get out." Michael stepped forward. "Elizabeth, calm down." I laughed, short and sharp. "You're in my house. In her room. With my husband. And I'm the one who needs to calm down." Linda stood up slowly, folding her arms. "You're overreacting." Overreacting. That word changed something. "I want you out," I said again, looking directly at her. "Now." And that's when everything flipped. Her face crumpled instantly. Tears fast and loud. "I knew this would happen," she said. "I told you she'd react like this." I froze. "What?" Michael stepped between us. Between me and my own sister. "Elizabeth, stop," he said. "You're scaring her." I stared at him. "I caught you in bed with her." "She didn't mean for it to happen like this," he said. Like that explained anything. Linda shook her head, crying harder. "You've always been like this. You make everything worse." I took a step back without realizing it. This didn't feel like a reaction. It felt rehearsed. Within minutes, she locked herself in the bathroom. I could hear her crying, voice rising just enough to carry through the door. Then I heard it clearly. "I don't feel safe." My stomach dropped. I looked at Michael. "Did she just?" He didn't answer. Then her voice again. "Yes, I need someone to come. She's acting unstable." Everything went cold. "She called the police?" I said. "You need to calm down," he replied. That was it. Not denial. Not confusion. Just that. By the time the police arrived, Linda was wrapped in a blanket on the floor, shaking. Michael stood next to her, hand on her shoulder, calm, controlled. I explained what I saw. What I walked into. But what they saw was her crying, and him steady. And me. Angry. Shaking. Trying to be heard. "Ma'am, we need you to step outside," one of them said. "This is my house." "We understand. Just for now." I stepped outside. Through the window, I could see her leaning into him. Talking. Him nodding along. Like they were already on the same side. When the officer came back out, his tone had changed. "It might be best if you stay somewhere else tonight. Let things cool down." My house. And I was the one leaving. I didn't argue. Because in that moment, I understood something clearly. If I stayed, I would lose. I got in my car and sat there, staring ahead, replaying everything. The laugh. The voice. The door. Then something else came back to me. A month ago, I installed cameras in the house. Just basic ones. Living room. Kitchen. I had forgotten about them. Until now. I started the car. And for the first time since everything happened, I wasn't just shocked. I was thinking. Because if I was right, then this didn't start today. And it definitely wasn't going to end the way they expected. I didn't go back that night. I drove without thinking until I ended up outside Jennifer Williams' apartment. I sat there for a minute, staring at the building, trying to decide if I was really about to say this out loud to someone else. That my husband and my sister were in my house, and somehow I was the one who got pushed out of it. I knocked anyway. Jennifer opened the door, took one look at me, and didn't ask questions right away. "Come in," she said, stepping aside. I didn't break down. I didn't collapse into tears. I just sat on her couch and said, "I caught them." She didn't need details to understand what I meant. "Your sister?" she asked carefully. I nodded. "And Michael?" I nodded again. There was a pause. Then she said quietly, "That's not something you misread." "No," I said. "It's not." She brought me water, sat across from me, and waited. And that's when I told her everything. The past few weeks. The small things. The way it built slowly enough that I kept convincing myself I was imagining it. When I finished, she didn't rush to give advice. She just said, "What are you going to do?" I didn't have an answer yet. That was the problem. I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel like smashing something or calling them and screaming until my voice gave out. I felt clear. And that scared me more. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. First, it was my mom. I stared at her name on the screen before answering. "Elizabeth," she said immediately, her voice tight. "What is going on?" That told me everything I needed to know. "They told you already," I said. "I got a call from your sister," she replied. She was crying. "She said you had some kind of episode." Episode. I closed my eyes for a second. "I walked in on her and Michael," I said. "In the guest room." There was a pause. Not shock. Not disbelief. Just hesitation. Well, my mom said slowly, she told me something very different. Of course she did. What exactly did she tell you? I asked. She said you've been under a lot of pressure, my mom continued. That you've been taking things out on her. That last night you came home angry and started accusing them of things that didn't happen. I let out a breath through my nose. Not surprised. Just confirming what I already felt. She called the police on me, I said. In my own house. She said she felt unsafe, my mom replied. That word again. Unsafe. Like they had all agreed on it. Did she mention why I would suddenly feel the need to accuse my husband and my sister of something like that? I asked. She said you've been acting differently for weeks, my mom said. Snapping at her. Being controlling. I almost laughed. Because every single thing she was saying was twisted just enough to sound believable. I asked her to clean up after herself, I said. I asked her to look for more hours at work. That's controlling now. My mom didn't answer directly. She's going through a hard time. And I'm not? I asked. Silence. Then, maybe everyone just needs space right now. Space. I ended the call after that. Not dramatically. Not angrily. I just realized I wasn't going to get anything from that conversation. My dad called next. His tone was softer, but the message was the same. Your mother says things got out of hand, he said. Maybe you should just give it a few days before making any big decisions. I caught them together, I said again. I'm not saying you didn't see something, he replied carefully. I'm just saying, emotions can make things look worse than they are. Worse than they are. I didn't argue with him. Because at that point, it wasn't about convincing them. It was about understanding what I was up against. And what I was up against wasn't just two people who betrayed me. It was a version of the story they had already started building. I hung up and sat there for a while, staring at nothing. Jennifer came into the room and leaned against the wall. They're already flipping it, she said. I nodded. Yeah. What are you going to do? She asked again. This time, I had an answer. I'm going to see what actually happened, I said. She frowned slightly. You already saw it. I saw the end of it, I replied. I want to know how long it's been happening. And that's when it clicked fully. The cameras. I stood up so fast Jennifer straightened. What? I installed cameras last month, I said. Living room. Kitchen. Her eyes widened slightly. You think? I don't know yet, I cut in. But if I'm right, it's all there. I opened the app on my phone. For a second, my hands hesitated over the screen. Because once I saw it, there was no going back to doubt. No more, maybe I misunderstood. No more, maybe it just started recently. Just the truth. I tapped into the footage. At first, it was nothing. Normal days. Me leaving for work. Linda on the couch scrolling through her phone. Michael coming home, dropping his keys, asking what was for dinner. Then it started. Small things. Too small to notice in real time. Her sitting a little closer than necessary. His hand brushing hers and not moving away right away. Conversations that dropped the second I walked into the frame. I kept scrolling. Hours. Days. Patterns forming. Late nights in the living room when I was asleep upstairs. Private conversations in the kitchen where they leaned in too close. Inside jokes I had never heard. I felt something settle deeper in my chest with every clip. Not shock. Confirmation. Then I found the moment that changed everything. It was from a few days before I caught them. Linda was sitting on the couch. Michael was across from her. They weren't touching. Not even close. But the tone was different. Calm. Direct. Planned. If she finds out, Linda said, we just tell them she's unstable. I stopped breathing. Michael didn't interrupt her. She already gets emotional, Linda continued. They'll believe it. A pause. Then he nodded. That was it. No hesitation. No argument. Just agreement. I replayed it. Once. Twice. 3 times. Same words. Same tone. Same calm acceptance. And in that moment, everything made sense. The shift in behavior. The way they handled the confrontation. The police. My parents' reaction. This wasn't damage control. This was the plan. I lowered the phone slowly. Jennifer was watching my face. What did you find? I looked at her, and for the first time since everything started, I felt something steady. They knew, I said. They planned it. Her expression changed. What do you mean? They were already preparing for me to find out, I said. And they already decided what they were going to say when I did. Silence filled the room. Then she asked quietly, so what now? I looked back down at my phone. At the footage. At the truth they didn't think I would have. I'm not going back there to argue, I said. I locked the screen. I'm going to let them keep talking. And for the first time since I opened that door, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was waiting. I didn't go back to the house the next day. Or the day after that. I let them sit in it. Not because I was scared. Not because I didn't have the right to walk back into my own home. But because the moment I saw that footage, I understood something clearly. If I rushed back in, I'd be stepping right into the version of me they already created. Unstable. Emotional. Reactive. So I stayed quiet. And I watched. Jennifer didn't push me. She just let me take over her small kitchen table, my laptop open, phone charging, the footage pulled up again and again like I was studying something I needed to memorize. Because I was. Patterns. Timing. Moments that meant nothing on their own, but everything together. Michael getting home earlier than usual on days I worked late. Linda suddenly becoming tired whenever I was around, then wide awake the second I wasn't. The living room camera caught most of it. Not the bedroom. Not what I walked into. But enough. Enough to prove it wasn't sudden. Enough to prove it wasn't confusion. Enough to prove it wasn't a mistake. There was one clip I kept coming back to. A normal night. I had fallen asleep early after a long shift. The timestamp showed just after midnight. Linda came downstairs first, barefoot, hoodie hanging off one shoulder like she was trying too hard not to look like she was trying. Michael followed a few minutes later. They didn't touch right away. They just stood there in the dim light, talking quietly. Then she said something I couldn't hear clearly. And he laughed. Not the polite laugh he gave people at work events or family dinners. A real one. Soft. Easy. The kind I hadn't heard directed at me in a long time. That part hurt more than I expected. Not the betrayal. The familiarity. Like they had built something in the same space I thought was mine. I closed the laptop after that clip and leaned back in the chair. Jennifer was sitting across from me, watching without interrupting. They didn't even try to hide it, I said. They thought you wouldn't see it, she replied. No, I said slowly. They thought if I did, it wouldn't matter. That was the part that settled heavy in my chest. They didn't just risk getting caught. They planned for it. I picked up my phone again and scrolled to the clip that mattered most. If she finds out, we just tell them she's unstable. I played it again. Jennifer shook her head slightly. That's not just cheating. No, I said. It's strategy. There was a long silence after that. Then she asked, are you going to confront them? I thought about it. About walking back into that house, phone in hand, pressing play in front of them, watching their faces change when they realized I knew everything. About the satisfaction of it. About the chaos that would follow. Then I shook my head. No. She frowned. Why not? Because that's what they're expecting, I said. They already know how to handle that version of me. The one who reacts. The one who yells. The one who tries to prove something in the moment. I leaned forward slightly, resting my arms on the table. If I go back now, it turns into another scene. Another argument. Another chance for them to twist it. Jennifer studied me for a second. So, what are you going to do instead? I looked at the footage. At the timeline. At the way everything lined up too neatly. I'm going to let them keep talking, I said. Let them keep building their version of the story. And then I'm going to use it. That word sat differently than anything I'd said so far. Use it. Not fight it. Not argue against it. Use it. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Michael. I stared at his name for a few seconds before answering. Where are you? He asked immediately. No concern in his voice. No apology. Just control. I'm staying somewhere else, I said. You can't just leave like that, he replied. We need to talk. About what? I almost asked. Instead, I said, you already said everything you needed to say. That's not fair, he said. You walked in, started accusing us, and then escalated the situation. Accusing? I let that sit for a second. I didn't accuse you of anything, I said. I saw it. You're not thinking clearly, he replied. There it was. The same line. Different tone. Same meaning. I think I'm thinking very clearly, I said. He exhaled like I was being difficult. Linda is really shaken up. She didn't deserve that. I closed my eyes for a second. She didn't deserve what? I asked quietly. To feel unsafe in her own space, he said. Her own space. My house. I almost laughed, but I didn't give him that. You mean the room I gave her? I said. That's not the point, he snapped slightly, then caught himself. Look, we just need to reset this. Come home, we'll talk like adults. Reset. Like this was a disagreement. Like we were negotiating something small. I'm not coming back right now, I said. Silence. Then, colder this time, you're making this worse than it needs to be. No, I said. I'm just not helping you fix it. He didn't respond to that. We hung up a few seconds later without anything resolved. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. You're the problem. I nodded. Yeah. She leaned back. So they're sticking to it. They have to, I said. If they change their story now, everything falls apart. And you? I looked down at my hands for a second. I'm not part of their story anymore, I said. I'm building my own. That night, I opened my laptop again. Not to watch more footage, but to start organizing it. Dates. Clips. Timestamps. Conversations. Everything in order. Clean. Clear. Undeniable. Not for them. For something else. Because the more I thought about it, the more obvious it became. This wasn't going to be solved in my living room. This wasn't going to be fixed with a conversation. This wasn't something I could argue my way out of. This needed to be handled somewhere they couldn't twist the narrative. Somewhere facts mattered more than emotions. I opened a new tab and started searching for a lawyer. Not because I was unsure anymore, but because for the first time since everything happened, I knew exactly what I was going to do next. I didn't rush it. That was the difference between what they expected and what I did. They expected me to come back angry, to demand answers, to argue in circles until I exhausted myself and gave them space to twist everything again. Instead, I stayed quiet, and I started building something they couldn't talk their way out of. The next morning, I met David Miller in his office downtown. It was small, clean, nothing dramatic. Just a desk, 2 chairs, and a man who looked like he had heard every version of "It's Complicated" before. He didn't interrupt me while I talked. I told him everything. The timeline, my sister moving in, the shift in behavior, what I walked into, the police, my parents, the footage. When I finished, I slid my phone across the desk and played the clip. If she finds out, we just tell them she's unstable. He watched it once, then again. Then he leaned back slightly. That changes things, he said. How? I asked. It shows intent, he replied. Not just infidelity. Manipulation. Pre-planned narrative control. Hearing it said out loud made it feel heavier, but also clearer. So what do I do? I asked. He didn't hesitate. You don't confront them. I let out a small breath. Good. Everything from this point forward needs to be controlled, he continued. No emotional reactions. No arguments. No giving them anything they can use against you. I nodded. That part one already understood. You gather everything, he said. Footage, financial records, communication. You let them keep talking. And when the time comes, you present it where it matters. Court, I said. He nodded. Exactly. There was something steady about the way he said it. Not dramatic. Not vengeful. Just final. We went through everything step by step after that. How to file. What to document. What not to do. Do not go back there alone unless necessary, he added. And if you do, don't engage. You're not there to fix anything. You're there to secure what's yours. That word stuck with me. Mine. Because somewhere in all of this, I had almost forgotten that. When I left his office, I didn't feel lighter. I felt focused. That afternoon, I drove back to the house. Not to talk. Not to argue. Just to get what I needed. Michael's truck was in the driveway. Of course it was. I sat in my car for a few seconds before getting out, letting my face settle into something neutral. Not cold. Not emotional. Just unreadable. When I walked in, the house felt different. Not because anything had changed, but because I had. Linda was in the living room. She looked up the second I stepped inside. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Not guilt. Recognition. Like she knew this moment mattered. You're back, she said. I didn't respond. I walked past her. Michael came out of the kitchen a second later. Elizabeth. I'm not here to talk, I said, cutting him off without raising my voice. That stopped him. Just enough. I'm getting a few things, I continued. That's it. Linda stood up slowly. You can't just walk in like nothing happened. I turned to look at her. And for the first time since everything started, I didn't feel anything when I saw her. No anger. No confusion. Just distance. I'm not walking in like nothing happened, I said. I'm walking in like it's already over. Silence. That landed. Michael stepped forward. You don't mean that. I filed paperwork this morning, I said. That wasn't entirely true yet. But it would be. And it was close enough. Linda's expression shifted again, but this time she didn't cry. She watched me. Carefully. Calculating. You're being dramatic, she said. There it was again. The same script. Different moment. You should come home, Michael added, softer now. We can fix this. Fix this. Like it was broken by accident. I shook my head once. No. Then I turned and walked upstairs. I packed quickly. Clothes. Documents. A few personal things. Nothing emotional. Nothing unnecessary. When I came back down, they were both still there. Watching. Waiting for something. A reaction. A crack. I didn't give it to them. At the door, Michael spoke again. If you leave like this, you're making a mistake. I paused for half a second. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted him to hear it clearly. The mistake already happened, I said. I'm just not fixing it for you. Then I left. No slammed door. No raised voices. Just done. That night, I sent everything to David. All the footage. All the clips. All the pieces they thought would never come together. And for the first time since I opened the guest room door, I wasn't reacting anymore. I wasn't waiting. I was moving. Quietly. And they had no idea what was coming next. Everything moved fast after that. Not loud. Not messy. Just fast. David handled most of it. Filing, documentation, communication. I didn't have to chase anything or argue my way through it. Every piece of evidence I sent over was organized, clear, impossible to twist. The footage did what I knew it would do. It cut through everything. No interpretations. No, he said, she said. Just truth. Michael tried to reach out once after he was served. Not a real apology. Not even close. We can still fix this, he said over the phone. You don't have to take it this far. That phrase again. Fix this. Like I had broken something. I didn't take it anywhere, I said. I just stopped protecting you. He went quiet after that. Then softer, like he was trying a different angle. You're throwing everything away. I thought about that for a second. The house. The marriage. The version of my life I had been living before all of this. Then I said, no. I'm just not pretending it still exists. That was the last real conversation we had. Linda never called. Not once. Which told me more than anything she could have said. Because if she really believed her own story, she would have defended it to me. Instead, she stayed quiet. And let everything play out. My parents were the hardest part. They didn't call right away after I sent them the footage. It took a full day. Then my mom. She didn't start with questions. She started with, why didn't you tell us it was this bad? I almost laughed. I did tell you, I said. You just didn't believe me. Silence. Then, quieter, we didn't know. No, I replied. You didn't want to know. That ended the conversation faster than anything else could have. My dad called later that night. His voice was different this time. Not cautious. Not neutral. Just tired. I saw it, he said. I didn't ask what part. I didn't need to. I'm sorry, he added. That was it. No explanation. No defense. Just that. And for some reason, that was enough. Not to fix anything, but to close something. After that, things settled. The divorce didn't drag out. It didn't turn into some long, exhausting fight because there was nothing left to argue. The timeline was clear. The intent was clear. The outcome was obvious. Michael moved out before it was finalized. I heard through someone else that he and Linda stayed together for a while. Not long. Apparently things didn't work the same way when there wasn't someone else in the middle of it. No tension. No secrecy. No one left to blame. Just them. And whatever they thought they had built. It didn't last. I didn't reach out. I didn't check. I didn't need to. I got the house. That part felt strange at first. Walking back into it alone. The same walls. The same furniture. The same rooms where everything shifted. But it didn't feel heavy the way I thought it would. It felt quiet. Clean. Like something had been removed that I didn't realize was taking up so much space. The guest room is empty now. I didn't rush to change it. I just closed the door and left it that way for a while. Not out of fear. Just distance. Sometimes I still think about how close it came to working. If I hadn't come home early that day. If I had ignored the feeling. If I had stayed and argued instead of stepping back. If I had tried to fix it instead of walking away. I would have played right into everything they planned. That part stays with me. Not as regret. Just as awareness. Because the moment I stopped reacting, everything shifted. They didn't lose because I exposed them loudly. They lost because I didn't give them anything to work with. No scene. No chaos. No version of me they could twist. Just silence. And facts. And distance. Michael reached out one last time after everything was finalized. A short message. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. I read it once. Then deleted it. Because that was the truth, wasn't it? They didn't think I would. They thought I'd argue. Cry. Stay. Try to fix something that was already broken long before I walked into that room. But I didn't. And now the house is mine again. My space. My life. No tension sitting in the corners. No quiet conversation stopping when I walk in. Just quiet. The kind that doesn't feel empty. The kind that feels earned. And sometimes, late at night, I still think about that moment at the door. The laugh. The voice. You started this. I know now what they meant. They thought I started the problem by finding out. But the truth is, I ended it. So I guess what I still wonder is this. If you were in my place, would you have blown everything up right then and there? Or is walking away quietly, letting everything collapse on its own, the better kind of revenge?